This mutation is called Onslaught, and it is being played on Dead of Night. We have 3 mutators active. We have Void Reanimators, we have Aggressive Deployment, and we have Outbreak. So while the players do start getting set up here, there's a little bit of a discussion over here between the 2 players. The Terran Wizard had said that if he gets Terran, he is going to restart the game, and he is not wrong about that. The Ravens are really annoying. The nukes are really annoying, and it just makes it so much more difficult, especially with the Void Reanimators constantly resurrecting units. So, while the players do get set up over here, we can see that Abathur is already putting down a bunch of toxic nests, so he will be using this to farm his biomass in the early stages of the game. One thing to note is that farming biomass in the early stages is really important because that allows you to get your Brutalisks out a little bit faster and get everything else set up very quickly. So if you want to know where to farm biomass on each of the different maps, check out Starcraft2coop.com, check out the Abathur guide. There is some information at the bottom of the Abathur commander page. It'll actually show you where to go on every single map and how to farm the biomass as effectively as possible. So you can see here, there's a spore crawler coming out. The one thing I want to talk about is the interactions between the Void Reanimators on this map, because it is actually something semi-interesting to see already. This guy, this one right here is just hell on earth. So, the Void Reanimators will resurrect the infested units that attack your base, but they will not resurrect the units that have died to sunlight. So everybody knows that has played this map that during the daytime, the infested die off through the sunlight. So the Void Reanimators will not resurrect those infested units. The Void Reanimators will resurrect the infested units that you have killed off during the nighttime. So anything that your units have killed are fair game for the Void Reanimators. The other thing to also know, there's a Void Reanimator over here as well that's causing a few problems. The other thing to know is that the infested that get resurrected by the Void Reanimators, so these are the infested Terrans, the infested Marines, and the Aberrations, and the special infested. If those things are resurrected by a Void Reanimator, they will not burn from the sunlight. So you will have to kill them manually if they have been resurrected by the Void Reanimators. You can see over here that Abathur is struggling a little bit to defend because his early game is very weak on this mission. He needs to get his Brutalisks out before he has a little bit of effectiveness in the mission. We can see that also there are, I believe, some Hunterlings have been spawned over here, and we already have a bunch of photon cannons coming out for Zeratul, and that should provide him with a little bit of defense in his mineral line, because the Hunterlings do actually jump on this side, and that does make it a little bit annoying. The one thing you can do is, if you are able to get some vision, is to put a structure on this side, and our first aggressive deployment drop has dropped over here. So he has a bunch of Tesseract monoliths. So one thing he could have done is get some detection on here. So, you know, Abathur has a bunch of overlords, they can float over there. And what he can do is put down a Tesseract monolith over there, and that'll prevent the Hunterling from jumping onto that platform. And it'll force the Hunterling to wrap around here, which makes it a little bit easier. But you can see here that Void Reanimator has resurrected that Hunterling. Does get picked off at the end. And now, for the most part, I think Zeratul should be okay. He does have his Tesseract monoliths in place over here. So overall, reasonably okay from both sides. And we can see the other thing that has happened here is that Zeratul has gone for the Telbrus Legion. So the Telbrus Legion is really decent on this mission, especially when you're not up against an enemy race which has that has really strong units. So for example, if you're up against Protoss, you can semi get away with going for the Surdeath Legion because it allows you to steal immortals and whatnot. But against Zerg, you don't really have a very strong set of units, so going for the Telbrus Legion is actually not a bad idea. They have storms, and you know they can feed back some of the Vipers. They're actually really effective at pushing. And you can see already that Zeratul has a bunch of Void Templars in the mix, and now Abathur has his first Brutalisk out, and that is very important. That is a huge thing for Abathur. Just getting that first Brutalisk out, especially before the second day, is very impactful because it allows him to push in and start clearing to the side. You can see again Hunterlings just harassing these probes over here. As long as these Void Reanimators stay out of the way, it should not be too bad. But now we have another aggressive deployment drop that has come up, but that should be no problem for Abathur to be able to deal with now, because he does have the Brutalisk, and the Brutalisk pretty much two-shot those Zerglings. The Hunterling is coming up on the way over here. He's been trying to harass that mineral line. Again, there is a photon cannon on this side. Hunterling does aggro the photon cannon, does get picked off. And now there is a Overseer on this side that is just getting stun locked by the Tesseract Monolith for no apparent reason. And now Day 2 has begun, and the commanders will start pushing on this side. So you can see unit-wise what is being done over here, and Abathur is actually just stacking up the biomass onto his roach over here. So a lot of the times I do see some commanders that prefer to F2A move, and they don't actually... They build a lot of units, but they do not stack the biomass onto a single unit, which means that they have maybe 300, 400, 500 biomass stacked across 15 roaches, which means they have no Brulisks out. Getting these units are so important for Abathur. They provide him with so much pushing power, they provide him with so much tanking ability. It's very important to do that, and this is basically pretty much perfect Abathur play. Farm the biomass on the right side, in the right areas over here. He's gotten his 2 Brulisks out. I'm assuming he has another roach that's coming up. Yeah, he already has another roach that's coming up along the way. He's just gonna go and pick this up. And we can see over here that Zeratul is also pushing in and using these Void Templars with their blink ability to just one-shot through these structures, because their blink ability deals 50 damage, I think, per Void Templar along the path of any unit that is in line over here. You can see they just quickly one shot through these buildings here. There are a few swarm hosts on the side that are burrowed, and there's no enough detection, but that should not be too difficult. Again, you can just see how these Zerglings just get completely shredded by this, and anything that decides to make its way over here is just going to get killed off by the Tesseract monoliths. These monoliths are really good at stun locking units. They have no limits on how many units they can hit. And now we have Terran Wizard over here saying that he has a 3rd Brutalisk out. And just see how quickly he gets those Brutalisks out. This is at the 9-minute 45-second mark that he got the Brutalisk out. And it's actually really good timing there, because this mission is actually really bad for Abathur to get these units out. Most of the infested units during the first night do not actually drop biomass, because they got 0 supply. The only units that drop the biomass, the only infested units that drop the biomass are the infested Marines, which are the ones that have the rifles, and the aberrations. You don't really see very much of them during the first night, which is what makes this mission really difficult for Abathur to farm. Because as you can see, he did get his first Brutalisk out in the middle of the first night, and now he's taking the advantage of that by having these Brutalisk push in, and that has actually made this mission so much easier for him. It also helps him defend. And now day 2 is ending, and night number 2 will begin, and now this next side will also open up, which will be a little bit of a problem for these commanders. The 25 toxic nests over here, it might be useful to be putting these toxic nests on this side and disabling the automatic detonation. And what you can do is you can actually smoke the gather point over there. You can actually kill off a lot of the aberrations that will be gathering on this side and pick up a lot of biomass over there. But again, Abathur is doing really well. They have cleared out a good chunk of the units. I wonder if we can actually pull up the completion there. So they have killed off a total of 79 of these. There's 79 structures that have been killed off and 151 total over here. So they're a little bit over 50%, I think, in terms of completion here, which is really, really good completion. So now just a matter of time to see how they do. So we have Zeratul that is rotating around here. You can see over here, this is that gather point I was talking about. There are a lot of aberrations that end up sitting over here. You can see the toxic nests are coming down now, but I think it's a little bit too late. It's not really too bad. Better late than never. And on this side, we have a bunch of swarm hosts that have been added for Abathur here to provide a little bit more of a defensive position here, and you can see that Void Reanimator being really annoying but just constantly resurrecting stuff. And this is one of the annoying things, is you have to pay attention to where these Void Reanimators are, and you have to focus fire them down. They have a very low aggro priority, believe it or not, so if you have a bunch of units that are F2A moving basically onto the side, they will basically try and kill everything else before they will attack the Void Reanimator, which is obviously not what you want to do, because the Void Reanimator keeps resurrecting stuff and just makes your life completely miserable, as this one guy is doing right here. And you know, they are relatively tanky. They have 400 vitality in total, which does make them a little bit annoying. Now it has also resurrected a hybrid over here. The other thing to also note is that if a Void Reanimator does resurrect a unit and there is none of your units nearby, you can see the threats of deployment on this side. Whatever enemy units have been resurrected by the Void Reanimator will be given an attack command towards your base, so there is no way of actually avoiding it. You will have to deal with the units that have been resurrected by these Reanimators. And it does get very, very difficult, and you can get overwhelmed if you're not paying attention, because these things just go really, really fast, especially when the units are 0 supply or 1 supply unit. One thing to note about the Void Reanimators is that the length of the resurrection, so that is the animation of the resurrection, it does depend on the unit supply. So I can't remember exactly the different timings. You can check out Starcraft.com's Mutator page on that. There is some information on how the Void Reanimators work. But a hybrid, for example, will take a little bit longer to be resurrected than, say, a infested Terran over here. So there's something else to also know. Now we have the Avatar of Essence that has been dropped to just devolve all of these and provide Zeratul with a little bit of attack speed increase, because he's already starting to push into the side now, just getting a little bit more value for his units. And he's also gotten the Void Blink ability, which is also very beneficial for him. So all in all, seems to be doing reasonably okay. I'm actually somewhat surprised that my observer overlay is actually showing all this information. I wonder if that has been... I don't think it has been fixed. I think just the unique selection of abilities that Zeratul has selected for his cooldowns were the ones that actually the observer overlay works for. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't really happen for the rest of these selections over there. The other thing to note also, if you are playing Zeratul on this mission, it's usually better to go for the Avatar of Form rather than the Avatar of Essence. In this case, it's not really too bad because Zeratul is using the auto attack here. But the Avatar of Form is kind of useful when you are actually using some, if you want to push, because it does allow you, the Avatar of Form is really good for pushing and dealing a lot of damage to lots of spammy units. So we can see over here, Abathur is actually good to go. The other thing I have noticed though is that Abathur is actually really low on the biomass collection. So he has about 20% biomass collection. Usually if you are playing Abathur, you want to go for about 90 to 95% biomass collection. But I'm assuming that there is a lot of biomass to see. I see there are a lot of biomass balls that are sitting on this site. So that is a little bit of inefficiency there from Abathur's play. But as you can see, Abathur doesn't really need that much biomass now anymore. He has his Leviathans out. He's just trying to rush his ultimate evolutions, and he's pretty much good to go. I think he has... I think that one Mulelisk there is just going to be completing the last Leviathan that he needs here. And he just has a bunch of Queens there to just keep his units alive. And now he's just pushing through this side, with Zeratul also clearing on here. So you can see how just quickly in control these commanders are. They got their ultimate evolutions really quickly. Zeratul has been able to ramp up now, and he does have a few cannons as well. And even though Abathur is flowing a lot of minerals, that's very normal for Abathur play because it doesn't really need the mineral income. And you just see the efficiency there from both these commanders. Abathur should not really be floating any gas, which he's not, and Zeratul should not be floating any minerals, which he's not. They both do really well over here. There's another aggressive deployment drop that has come up, and it just gets completely shredded by Abathur's army, and Abathur is just going to keep pushing on this side, while Zeratul pushes in from here, and you just see how he just quickly one-shots a lot of these structures in a row over here. And now, Abathur's pretty much completely cleared out this side. There are a very few set of infested structures that are remaining. There's just a few on this side, maybe a few on the top, and I think there's just a few on here as well. That's pretty much it. And Zeratul is just waiting for the Virophage to spawn, and Knight number 3 is ready, and these commanders are not going to be going back home because they are already ready and they're already completed this mission. They're just waiting for the Virophage to spawn, which will spawn over here. And he's pretty much going to blink, or not even bother blinking, he's just going to auto-attack this thing dead. And there's a blink there, unfortunately not very effective. But there we go, the Virophage has gone down now, and Abathur is just going to continue his parade push through here and just completely wiping out these enemy structures. Zeratul is focused firing down these infested structures. One blink forward, clears out a lot of these structures here. And now, the last set of structures are been cleared out, and now there's just an infested Biodome on here. And I think that is pretty much the last structure that is remaining. That was easy, indeed it was. They made it look really, really easy, even though it is a relatively difficult mutation. And that is GG.